back to finally reading the last part of The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. When we last read this book, which has been a while, we read most of the book of the Hero of Time story arc, the part 2 of the book, and we are now on chapter 6, The Haunted Wasteland. Now, I'm gonna try to see if I can get to where that actually what I could do, now that I think about it. Simply put, I could just simply put this book that I will be revealing after the reading is done. We'll just do this. It's not the best idea, but it'll do. Alright. And I would like to say that I do have my theater that is over here in the direction that I am pointing at. It is currently going off because it's kind of cold in here. But if you guys would prefer I turn this off, I would do it to where it'll turn on and off at different intervals of time, so that way it doesn't get too crazy. But for now, I'm going to have to leave it on so that way it don't get too cold in here while I read this book. But here we go. Chapter 6, The Haunted Wasteland. It's going to be kind of weird. Actually, hold on. I think I have a better way of doing this here. Just put this in. Oh, by the way, in case you guys are wondering, what is this book? It's another book that I bought at Walmart recently, titled Walk the Blue Line. Real cops, real stories according to the book. And this will be another one of those books that I read, but it did pique my interest when I seen it. So I'm going to read this book somewhere down the line, no pun intended on the title, but still, just so you guys wondering what that book is. And then of course beneath it are the Percy Jackson books that I have not read yet, but the first book is actually over here, along with the other books that I have set to read when I do the poll for which books to read out of the ones that I currently read. Right now, off screen, I am reading these two books at the same time currently, in case anybody's wondering what I got going on here. So I'm reading The Hunger Games, the very first book of that series, and the Stephen King book known as Cell. These are two books that are coming up, but I'm reading them, so that way I know how to act at certain points in the story. But for now, let's go ahead and get started with The Haunted Wasteland. Waited long enough to do this, so now, here we go. And I am moving my head over the light so that way you guys can see it better. Actually, I may have to adjust the camera a little bit. Actually, I think I will. And I don't know if it'll affect... Hold on a second. There you go, let's see how that works. Yep. Kind of damaged my book a little bit with this page right here. Surprised it wasn't another page of the book that I'm not going to get into for obvious reasons. But, here we go. Chapter 6. Chapter 6. The Haunted Wasteland. Trying to make sure you guys can see the pages here. Let's see, let me fun trying to actually. Hold on, let me see if I can fix this. Let's see if that'll help us a little bit here. Alright. You guys can kind of see it, I guess. Not the best, but not the worst. But if you guys can't see it very well, I'll go ahead and just read it for you guys. That way you guys, don't miss out on anything. So this chapter starts off as Link returns to Zora's domain. And then we see an up-close view of the now frozen King Zora, who is now obviously frozen and solid. With someone saying, "Link, the water temple is this way, Zora." And next we see a shot of Link and Princess Ruto swimming to where they have to go. Let's see. As Link looks on, he says, "The Zora's domain, even King Zora, everything's covered in ice." Ruto responds, "That grumpy old man. I mean, my father was kind to me, Zora. I want to help everyone. I want to save the Zora's domain, Zora. You have to help." Next we see an up-close view of Link's face. And then we see, "Of course," then someone just shouts, "Of course!" Then all of a sudden, something splashes out of the water. It looks like it's trying to capture Link. Right here. It's trying to capture Link somehow. Suddenly so now Link is in the clutches of this beast. And Ruto shouts out, "Link! Morpha, stop!" And Link shouts back, "Princess Ruto!" "Darn it," he says. And then he just gets swung all over the place like it's nothing. I know you guys can't see the book very well, and I apologize, but I just thought this would be a better setting for us since we're by the books. But anyway, then he gets swung left and right, looking like he better get seasick, no pun intended. And Naruto, in desperation, shouts, "It won't break!" And just boings wherever. Then finally done toying with him, Morpha throws Link into the air. But then he manages to find his footing, takes out his hook shot and says, "Take this!" And then he uses it. He uses it on the heart, I guess you could say, of Morpha, and it explodes into millions of pieces, I guess. And then he hears the voice. "You broke the curse on the water temple." And then a shining light forms and reveals Princess Ruto. "Link," she says, "you've done well now that the Zora's domain will unfreeze and return to normal." And Link happily says, Princess Ruto, you're a sage too? Well, he says that line. He asks her about that, and then she says her line. I'm getting it mixed up sometimes. That's what happens when you read a manga. Anyway, so she then says to him, how worthy you are of being my fiancé. The happiest, grandest wedding ever. And Link, look at that face. Link over here just falling backward in surprise there. But then Ruto says, except it cannot be. I still must remain the sage of water. And Link, still blushing, thinks to himself, oh gee, that's such a shame, really. That's such a shame, really, he thinks to himself. Ruto asks him, then Ruto asks him, where will you go now? And Link, with a smile, says, to the wasteland. Next, we see a shot of said wasteland right here where my finger's at. Right here. What is supposed to be my right hand sticky finger, right here pointed at the wasteland. We see a long shot of what appears to be a village, as we see a boot which appears to belong to Link at least. And then we see a shot of the village in action. In the meantime, Link is in this village picking up some supplies or food, some necessities for him and his horse. Water for my flask, salt, dried meat, and that bundle of arrows. And then we see a shot of Link and Epona right here, where my pinky's at right here. And then going to the left of that picture, we see two old ladies saying, that was a brave lad, searching for something. No, someone. From here on, we'll be in Gerudo territory. Oh no, wait, no, so they say that. And Navi says, from here on, we'll be in Gerudo territory, so be careful. How do you know that? Asks Link. Our predictions never err. Go to the spirit temple. There you will find your destiny, says one of the old ladies. One of the elderly women. Thank you. I'll stop there, says Link. No, thank you, says the old lady. And the two of them just start doing an evil laugh. Well, now it's your turn, Sheik, says one of the ladies. Why me? Said Sheik. What? Can't you do it? Is the rumor true that you're secretly helping the hero of time? One says to Sheik, I wonder who you really are. You say you're a Sheikah, but maybe you're lying, says the old lady. And Sheik just glances at her. Don't be ridiculous, Sheik tells them. Then go! Prove your unswerving loyalty to Lord Ganondorf. And as Sheik leaves, a woman appears. Naburu, work with him to capture the hero, and find out if Sheik is really a traitor, says the two ladies, one after the other. As you wish, Twin Nova, says the Buru. The Buru lives but to serve Lord Ganondorf. And then one of the old ladies does a chant. Blind, blow wind, swirl sand, bring the tempest, block the hero's path. And then a strong gust of wind blows, causing Link to not see very clearly. Even Navi herself, even Navi the fairy says, Link, I can't see anything. And Link, I don't know what he's doing in that second picture. It looks like it's just the sand's billowing up right onto him. Yeah, the sand's going bigger and bigger right onto Link. With Navi then, but it's getting so high that's going on. And Navi says, if this doesn't let up, we'll be buried alive. And suddenly, Link's hand is the only thing sticking out. But then somebody part of his hand is still sticking out. But somebody grabs it and tugs on him as he makes, that face. Well, who would it be to do this? But of course, the political people. Okay. Okay, let me ask the serious question. Let me answer your question with another question. What exactly does that have to do with this reading stream? Please tell me it's not going to be a case of either you're going, whether I support him or not depends on if you're going to support me, which is kind of a stupid thing. Don't let politics get in the way of having a good time. That's all I'm going to say about that. Because I don't think it's important. It's irrelevant. And even then, if you watch my channel, you may know who I'm more supportive of. Whether it be Trump, Biden, or anybody. You would know it if you've been here. And I'm not going to answer that question because I know what's going to probably happen. Somebody's going to be butthurt, no matter who it is, on one side or the other. And I might lose subscribers, etc., etc. And that's why I don't really talk about politics that much. Biden is a top G. Okay. I don't really see what that has to do with the book. Unless I'm reading something. Where is it? Something like this. Yeah, something like that. It probably would be relevant, but even then, this book goes as far as Trump. Not like Friday the 13th. If we're talking about the movie series, depends on the movie. If we're talking about the day itself, I don't care. I don't really care about Friday the 13th being a thing. It's just, I just don't really care about it. Part 2. Friday the 13th, Part 2. It is a better... You know, I honestly don't know. I haven't seen Part 2 in a while. But yeah. We're gonna go straight back into this book now. But the hand that reached out to Link and tugged him out of the sand, of course had to belong to Sheik. Sheik? Link says and shouts in surprise. Hold on, Sheik tells him. Come this way. And they walk in the desert sand. And at some point, now that they're in a good spot to rest, Sheik tells Link, "You're as reckless as ever." You helped me again," Link tells him. "How come you always show up wherever I go?" Says Sheik. "I was going to ask you the same thing. I guess we each want the same things out of life." "How can that be?" asks Link. "Are you also fighting Ganondorf?" And Sheik, under that mask, leaves a smirk. I mean, heck, it even says Sheik was smirking there. "Here begins the haunted wasteland, a dangerous place fraught with deadly peril," Sheik says, changing the subject. "Shall I show you the way?" or will you go alone? What will it be? Link tells him in response, please, show me. But thinks to himself, can I trust him? I've always wondered, Link says, as they are walking in the desert. Why do you always cover your face? And that eye and tear pattern. Is it a symbol of the Sheikah? Sheik then answers the second question at least. Originally it was just an eye. The Sheikah tribe served the Hylian royal family since the dawn of time, acting as its protective shadow. But a long time ago the family betrayed us, and we added a single teardrop to the symbol. Such a sad tale. The Link asks, do you still carry a grudge against the royal family? Sheik responds, it's ancient history. It has nothing to do with me now. And now we are delving into nighttime. As Link, I'm going to assume that's Link based on that glove, says, it's amazing the difference between the trees. I was raised by a Kokiri, but was suddenly told I'm really a Hylian. Not just that, I'm a hero who will save Hyrule. Now I'm fighting against the Gerudo. I don't question any of that. It's just, I'm missing 7 years that everyone else has, he says. Even though to me I just parted from Zelda, for her it's been 7 years. When I think of everything that's happened, when I wonder how the years have changed her, I'm uneasy about seeing her. How could I fill in those 7 years? Then he asks, why am I telling you all of this? Don't mind me, I'm just tired. And they just stay silent. As the fire crackles in the night. The Sheik tells him, it's hard to be a hero. And Link looks at him and says, thanks. And the fire still crackles. Nighttime is saying that both Link and Sheik are just about to fall asleep. When suddenly, sand surrounds the two, and Link hears a voice calling for his name twice. And then when he sits back up, he sees the great Deku Tree. Great Deku Tree? Link says in shock. How did you get here? He asks. But then suddenly, the great Deku Tree vanishes, and Link, with shock in his eyes, notices as a skull rises from the sand, and suddenly a Stalfos appears. Sheik! Watch out! Link shouts at him. And Link cuts through the Stalfos. And Sheik, fully awake, asks him, what are you doing? There's a skeleton behind you, Link shouts. This is the haunted wasteland, Sheik tells him. Phantoms try to deceive unwary travelers. Phantoms? Says Link. There's more, Link. They're more like, they're more like things in my heart from the past, he tells himself. And then he gets another shock as he sees the head of Volvania. And if you don't know who Volvania is, watch part 2 of this 3-part series. You will know exactly who Volvania is. But Volvania tells him, Link, it hurts, Link. Stop! Link says, covering his eyes. Go away! Then uncovering his eyes, he shouts, You don't fight fair! And Link looks at Sheik and asks, Sheik, are you okay? Of course, Sheik tells him. I don't see anything odd. It's just a desert to me. And then Link thinks to himself, Sheik doesn't see any phantoms? So when he talked about the history of the Sheikah, does that mean he doesn't have pain this heart? Why? Then we see the shot of the sky as Link finally notices it's finally morning. And then he notices some footsteps in the sand. And Sheik says, they don't seem like phantoms. I can see them too. And then suddenly, a group of Gerudo women appear. It's around the two people. It's the Gerudo! Watch out, Sheik! Suddenly, Link feels a whack hit the back of his head. And the next thing he sees is this shot of Sheik. Link says as he knocks out cold from the blow Sheik gave him, and Sheik just stares directly at them. And this is the next shot we see afterward. Hello, Base Redemption. Johnny, do I think Link is a femboy? No, I do not, because it is clearly a he. He is not I don't really see him as a femboy. Because for the most part, he doesn't wear anything that's considered feminine, in my opinion. Now, Ash Ketchum may have his femboy moments, but he's still a boy, and usually it's for laughs. Not much about, being an actual femboy. Base Redemption, cool manga, I agree with it, I'm enjoying it so far. We're almost done with it, but we still got a bit of ways to go with it. The next thing we see, Link has been thrown in a dungeon, thinking to himself, Sheik was a spy for Ganondorf. He tricked me the whole time, telling this to himself. And as he still lies down, he hears the creaking of a door and someone walking into the room. But he appears to be ready for something here. But one of the Gerudo, likely Naburu, says, So, this is the hero of time who's troubling Lord Ganondorf? Nothing more than a boy. And Link's you see Link's back still being handcuffed in that shot. Get up! Says the Gerudo as Link tries to get up, and the Gerudo grabs him by his tunic and says, Tomorrow at dawn, I'll use you for target practice. But Link, really having none of this, manages to get right past Naburu. And as he gets his sword, he says, Sorry, but I slipped those chains long ago. And then now arming herself with a sword, Naburu just shouts at him, Mouthy brat! Excuse me. And as the two start clashing, Link thinks to himself, she's strong, and more skilled than any of the Gerudo I've faced. Link! Navi shouts. Navi, where have you been? Link asks the fairy. Break the jewel on her forehead! Navi shouts, not just ignoring the question. And as she swings, he jumps out of the way, and she shouts, "Where are you?" And then as she looks up, she sees Lynn jumping from high above, shouting in defiance. With a nice up close view of shot of him, if I say so myself. And his sword manages to crack the stone on the Buru. It connects on the stone and cracks it. And the Buru just screams in pain. I'm not gonna try to pretend to do a woman's scream. I'm not crazy. And then we see a close-up shot of her holding her hand up to the jewel in question. And then Link, turning right back to Navi, asks, "Navi, how did you know about the jewel?" "It was easy to figure out," Navi answers. Suddenly, something gets thrown into his room, and he looks down to see what it was. "A hook shot? How?" Link says and looks up from the window. Not sure how it got down there. So he decides to use it and climb out of that prison cell. Now it is clear we are in the Gerudo fortress, as the Gerudo females stand guard. Looking down on them, Link says, "The guards and soldiers are all women. Are all the Gerudo women? But what about Ganondorf?" And then Link notices they noticed him, and he says, "Uh-oh, they spotted us." Meanwhile, in the cell, the Buru starts coming to, and as she wakes up, she wonders, "What am I doing here? Where's the Master Sword?" Link shouts. Or someone shouts. And Gerudo then shouting afterward, "Don't let him escape the fortress! Capture him!" And then he's stopped in his tracks as he spots what appears to be Sheik. And because it is. And she is holding the Master Sword and the Hylian Shield. Link stops in his tracks, not sure what to make of this. But as he does so, Sheik walks up to him, throws down the Master Sword. Throws down the Master Sword while Sheik himself, pulls out his own mini sword, or whatever you would want to call that. "So, you want to fight?" Link asks. He then picks up the Master Sword and pulls it out of its case or holster, whatever they call what they put swords into. Then the two stand across from each other, and Link takes a swing, or Sheik takes a swing. But Link's not sure what Sheik's going to do. And then Link just turns around and swings right back. But as they were going to go for the swing, suddenly a hand of sand pulls out. And the twin Rova appear. One shouted, "Gah!" as they were struck by Sheik's sword. The other twin Rova shouted, "I knew you were a traitor!" "A traitor?" Sheik shouts. I was never one of you. And Link just smiles, knowing full well that now knowing Sheik was really a double agent. Here, Sheik shouts, and tosses the Hylian shield over to Link, who holds it and uses it, and who then is told, "Sorry for hitting you earlier. You hurt my feelings more than my body," Link shouts, as the two of them start to go on the offensive. The twin Rova decide to, I guess, do what usual old witches do. Run away! Or it seems like it. Then one of the twin Rovas shot, "We do not forgive you! Die!" And swings their magic down. And the splash strikes Sheik. You can't really see the strike really hitting it, but it does seem like they're trying to brace for the impact. Link, seeing the smoke billowing from Sheik, shouts out the name in worry. "Hail in there!" Link shouts. But suddenly, he notices a particular mark that appears to resemble something. That mark! Link shouts, and then thinks, it's the crest of the Hylian royal family. Does that mean Sheik isn't one of the Sheikah? Sheik! Stay with me! Sheik is supposed to be a Sheikah. So why is the symbol of the Triforce on his hand? He shouts and thinks to himself respectively. Now he runs out of the. He tries to run. He tries to go on the offensive against an army of Gerudo women, shouting, "Out of my way!" But Navi shouts, "Link, behind you!" But then someone gets struck with something. That seems like the season 6 going into season 7 of The Walking Dead kind of cliffhanger over there. Alright. You're now on chapter 7 of 9 for this book. For this half of the book, I should say. What does that say? What is it? So, it turns out one of the Gerudo women was knocked out. The Gerudo woman was knocked out cold, and someone says, "I used the flat end of my sword." It turns out to be Nibiru. Link shouted her name in surprise. "I'll help you, hero," she says. Nibiru says. "Why?" Link asks. Nibiru responds, "I'm well known as a thief, but I'm not a pure villain like Ganondorf," she says, winking at him. "She was brainwashed by the Twin Rova too," Navi says. "Oh?" Link says in a wonder. "Nibiru!" One of the Twin Rova shouts. Someone gets hit as the Buru gets hit with some. The Buru throws her sword, and someone gets hit, and someone just screams, and one of the Twin Rovas says, "My precious broom!" This is what happened to it. It got cut clean in half as far as the end of the other one end of it goes. "What are you guys doing?" She shouts the other twin robot. "Get them! Leave the fighting to me. Hurry and treat Sheik's wounds." The Booru says, turning to Link. Link runs out and says, "I'm counting on you." The Booru then looks toward her own teammates. "You guys need to shape up and wake up," she shouts. And as they're leaving the area, Epona shows up. Link shouting Epona's name in excitement. The twin Rova appears. "Ha! You think we'd let you get away?" She shouts, doing her magic. And as in the sand as things rising up, Link using his bow and arrows to deal with the enemies that are constantly forming around him, using his arrows to either kill or immobilize the opponent. To the point to where I bet you would say no enemy was left unharmed. But he appears in what looks to be like a temple of a temple or monastery or something of some sort. Bolin quoting Sheik says, "This will have to do for now." So he walks in and places Sheik puts Sheik down on the floor. I'm guessing after putting something underneath the character to make it to where they don't, where they don't feel the rough floor. As Link and Navi look down upon Sheik, Link thinks to himself, "Sheik's surprisingly frail. I wonder if his injury is alright." And Link trying to pull a Batman or something. Look at this. He's trying to do something to Sheik. Pulling down the mask. Because of course he would. Why wouldn't he? Of course people are. That's what happens when you wear a mask. People like that. People get so curious as to what you look like. It's crazy. But just like your typical possible unmasking scene, Link suddenly realizes, "I better get some water." And then he wonders, why am I so flustered? Because he is blushing as he says that. And Navi says to him, there was an oasis over there. As the two of them as Link and Navi look to get water for Sheik, the Sheik wakes up, sits up, clutching their upper arm in pain. But then the voice suddenly changes. "Impa? Where are you?" she says, holding the hand up to the ear. But then she stares in shock and looks at her hands. Does that look familiar to you? If you played Ocarina of Time, you know who this is. But if you don't, you'll find out here shortly. "I found a fountain!" Link shouts and she returns. Sheik, the person under the guise of Sheik, suddenly looks suddenly at Link, and Link stares in surprise at Sheik. It even drops the water in surprise. Sheik, you're... And Sheik looking, I guess kind of staring blankly at him, uses the Triforce to blind Link, as seen here. But as the blinded light suddenly goes, Link stares in surprise as it's revealed that Sheik, as if it wasn't kind of clear enough, was Zelda all along, this whole time. And Link staring at her. Zelda? I can't really tell if he's saying it or thinking it, but he does have images of her from what he's recalled of her running through his head. Sheik is Zelda? How can that be? He says. Is it really you? And Zelda looks at him with a smile on her face. Zelda then tells him, I'm sorry I had to deceive you. So that's Sheik's secret, somebody shouts off screen. Well, technically off picture, if we want to go there. Sister, we've been made to look like fools, says one twin robot. Shall we teach them a lesson, sister? Says the other. And as they're about to make a blast, Link shouts out, "Look out! I'll burn your bones black with my fire!" As they make that blast, Link and Zelda were able to move out of the way. But as Link turns around, he notices that blast was able to make a hole in the wall. I'll freeze your soul with my spirit energy, says the other twin robot who did not use the fire element. Don't they have any weaknesses? Link shouts to Navi. Link shouts, somewhere in the temple there should be a shield that can reflect magic with that. Link! Shouts Zelda as Link suddenly falls to the ground. My leg! Link shouts as his leg is indeed frozen. I can't get out! The ice is spreading! Zelda shouts to him. Step aside. So Link tells her, as his body continues to be enveloped like so. But then something causes the ice to melt. And all of a sudden, he's able to break himself from the ice. He's too strong, says one of the twin robots. I don't see a shield anywhere, Link shouts. A dead end! Someone shouts, because I can't really tell who's shouting a dead end, but whatever. But one of the twin robots looked with a horrid smile on their face. There's nowhere left to run! One page too far. Link then turns around to face them as he protects Zelda against the wall. "Give us Princess Zelda," says one of the twin robots. "Link!" shouts Zelda as the blast is about to happen again. However, Link uses the shield to block it, but still it doesn't do anything. "It's no use, Link. We'll burn up," Zelda shouts. "That little shield can't take much more," shouts the twin robot using the fire magic. So Link still does his best to protect himself and Zelda, but then it's able to penetrate the shield and cover his hand, almost. While it does, Link thinking to himself, "My hand is burning. I can't take any more." And suddenly, a flash of light happens. What's that? What's that?" shouts the twin robot. Link covers his eyes from the blinding light as the Buru appears and shouts at Link to take. Shouts out, "Link, take this!" And she holds up a shield and throws it to Link, who catches it. And then he uses it against the twin robot, who suddenly become engulfed in flames. And they shout as one shouts in excruciating pain, the other shouts, "Not done enough! It can't be done! It can't be done in by our own powers! How?" And then they disappear like the flash of light. And the next thing you see, a long shot of Link, Zelda, and Neburu. "Later, your old hands," Neburu says after their demise. "Thanks, Neburu. Where'd you get that shield?" Link asks her. "Oh, I stole it from this temple a while ago," she says, blushing. And Navi isn't too impressed. You can't really see it, but yeah, she's not too impressed by that. And then Navi just goes right after the Buru, just bonking her on the head, as the Buru says, "My bad, oh my fault," and Navi shouts, "Link almost died," as the two of them look at the two of them and smile. The next time we see them, they're right by a Stonehenge, I guess it is. The Buru standing closer to it, while Link and Zelda stand closer to an entryway to a cave of some sort. 7 years ago, after Hyrule fell, when you opened the door of time and Ganondorf went into the sacred realm, he took the Triforce of Power and became a Darkborn. Impa and I went on the run. "Princess, what did you just say?" Now we're going into the flashback in case you're wondering what's being discussed here. Should have explained that, actually. Should have explained that, if I'm being honest, but whatever. We're moving on. She looks straight at Impa, says, "Impa, even if we keep running, someday we'll be caught. Instead, I'll disguise myself as one of his minions." Impa objects, That's too dangerous. Now, how can you... Zelda interrupts Impa, saying, I'll become a boy. During the attack, I realized how powerless I was. I could barely hold my frustration. I wanted to at least be strong enough to protect myself. Through the power of the Master Sword, Link is sealed inside the sacred realm. He is sure to become the hero of time in return. But Impa, still in disbelief at this idea, just sighs and says, I understand. Hiding right under the enemy's nose just might be the safest plan. You should pretend to be a Sheikah, she says. Tell them you're a descendant of the Sheikah, and exiled by the Hylian royal family long ago. Say you've returned after curing the kingdom's destruction. They'll believe that story for certain. Until the right time, Impa thinks to herself. Until the right time, Princess Zelda's consciousness shall sleep, to awaken as a young Sheikah boy. And as she's about to fall under the spell that Impa has placed on her, Zelda tells her, Thank you, Impa, for letting me have my way. And Impa tells her, As your guardian, I am proud of your wisdom and inner strength. My princess, please be safe. And that's when we see Sheikah. That's when we see Sheik. So that's what happened, Link says after being told the story. It was to fool the Dark Lord, but I also tricked you and put you in danger more than once. But Sheik was also always saving Link too, Navi shouts. I always knew that in truth you were a kind person. It's too bad I'll never be able to see Sheik again. Now Link walks up to her and looks her in the eyes and tells her, It's too bad I'll never be able to see Sheik again. And Zelda, I should say, with tears in her eyes, tells him, But I'm really glad I got to fight by your side. And Link looks at her in the eye and tells her, I missed you. But she looks up with a smile on her face. And Navi, I'm guessing, notices that Navi circles around them. As you can tell from the lines, Navi circles around the two of them. And as they're about to get closer to each other, all of a sudden, something rumbles some rumbling happens. And rumbling still happens, but suddenly a voice can be heard. Princess Zelda, you sly deceiver. And Zelda is... Then something happens to Zelda, but you don't really see it from the eyes. Well, then suddenly Zelda is frozen in whatever this is supposed to be. She gets frozen in it as Ganondorf shouts, You fooled me completely these 7 years. What is this? Link shouts, running up to Zelda. Zelda! He shouts. And Zelda can only look at him in despair and line her hand up with his. And just like that, it's gone. It disappears almost, I guess. But Link looks up as he hears laughter and is stunned. "Boy!" shouts Ganondorf, who just appears. "If you wish to save your princess, come to my castle." And as he disappears, Link shouts, "Zelda!" And with an angry expression on his face, he thinks, "Ganondorf!" Yep. Before we read chapter 8, bonus illustration number 4. A rough sketch Himekawa Sensei drew before beginning work on the series. Look at that picture. Ain't that a cute little picture? It's like a near chibi version of Adult Link and Epona. That's exactly what it is, too. We're getting closer and closer to the end. Hello, Dixon Nass. How you doing tonight? Saying dope. How you doing tonight if you're still here? Now we are on to the final 2 chapters. I'm actually going to take a little bit of a breather real quick. I'm going to go ahead and get me something to drink because I'm getting kind of thirsty still. I don't think I have any. Okay. Wow, book couldn't even stand there couldn't even be there for that long, huh? Alright, fine then. Just give me 1 second here. Gonna go ahead and get me something to drink. I'll be right back. I'm gonna pick up this book that I will be revealing for those that did not notice the poll that I did, but I'll talk about that later. Sorry about that, if you guys heard any background noise, sorry about that. So, family conversation, that's what it was, pretty much. So don't pay that any mind. Alright. 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 Final 2 chapters. And now we're into this. Let's try to hurry this up. Oh, we're a little too far ahead of that. Okay. I do got my drink there, but let's do this. Once we get done with this, I'll be revealing which book I'll be doing next. As per a poll that I did about a week or 2 ago. And then I'll have to end the stream immediately afterward. Because we are now moving past the 1 hour mark. So it's now 3:30. I don't get how the hell that works, but okay then. So now it's officially 3:30, and it's going to be kind of weird as we go into this, into this part of the year, where we're going to, I believe we are going to be getting more sun, or less sun, either, well, more sun. So, yeah. But we're moving on. Chapter 8, Ganondorf defeated. And that's a very nice shot of Ganondorf's castle in the middle of in the, in the, in the amount of air that it's taken up here. When we next see our heroes, we see them in the Buru's fellow Gerudo soldiers are standing by a fire near the Gerudo fortress, with with one person saying, with Naburu saying, "We Gerudo are a race in which only women are born. Every 100 years, a single male is born who has the right to be chief. That's Ganondorf," the Naburu tells him. Link looks at the Master Sword, but Naburu continues her tale. Not satisfied merely reigning over the Gerudo, he moved to rule the whole land of Hyrule. But he never guessed that she was Princess Zelda, she says. Even I never noticed, and I was right by her all. But Link looks and says, "Even I never noticed, and I was right by her all that time. I barely got to touch her before Ganondorf stole her away. You were holding on to her tightly when you escaped the fortress," Naburu tells him. That was Sheik, Link tells her in defense. I only learned later that it was Zelda. At the time, she was Sheik to me. Rather than having a happy reunion, we've been torn apart again. It's complicated, huh? The Naburu says with her hand up to her, with her hand touching her cheek. If you wish to save your princess, come to my castle, Ganondorf says, and Link said. Link then stands up, and Naburu notices, and she tells him, "I'm going too. I'm going to teach that Ganondorf that there are some things that even a master thief should never steal." And Link smiles and I guess both approval and appreciation as the two of them ride off to save Princess Zelda. As the next time we see our heroes, they have approached Hyrule Castle with Link and Naburu just beyond the reach of the castle. Naburu commented, "That place always creeps me out." But then suddenly, out pops the Redeads. Perhaps one of these scariest enemies in not just Ocarina of Time, but also of The Legend of Zelda as a whole. Looking at you, Wind Waker. In any case, these things are hardly even a challenge, the Naburu shouts as she and Link take care of them. But as Link makes a step, he notices something. Naburu notices it too. A lake full of lava, she says. How are we going to get into the castle? Link. Suddenly, Link hears a voice in his head. Link. Hero Link. Can you hear me? It's the sage, Lauru. Lauru? Link shouts. You too, Naburu. The seal is released. Awaken as the sage of spirit. Naburu in surprise. I am the sage of spirit? Naburu? Link says, trying to reach her. But but Naburu's voice speaks in his mind. Link, she says, it's a shame I can't fight by your side, but I'll keep supporting you any way I can. Then the shot of the 6 sages appeared. Saria, Naburu, Impa, Rauru, Darudia, and Ruto. We 6 sages will use our power and form a bridge to Ganondorf's castle, they say. At least one, if not all of them, if not some, most, or all of them say. And that's exactly what they do. They build a bridge up to Sheik's castle. And Link stares at the castle, looking set to take on Ganondorf. But Navi says, "Are you gonna stand there gawking all day?" With Link looking at the fairy. And then, with a shield and sword in each hand, Link shouts, "Come on, Navi!" The 2 of them run up the tower, dealing with enemies like the fire keys, which Link takes care of easily. Where's Ganondorf? And he still keeps walking up the tower, unsure of when he will finally reach the man, until he opens the door to a room that contains Princess Zelda in this crystal or something. Link looks on as piano music is played as he enters the room. And what he sees is a sight of Zelda in this crystal or something while Ganondorf plays the piano. Zelda opens her eyes and shouts, "Link! Zelda!" He shouts back at her. Then suddenly, something glows on Link's wrist, as well as Zelda's. "They're resonating," says Ganondorf. "The Triforce wants to be whole once more." And Link, still looks at the symbol on the back of his hand. "7 years ago, there were 2 bits of the Triforce I could not obtain. I never imagined they lived within you 2, he says. And now, all 3 are assembled here. Courage, wisdom," and turning around he says, "and power! I will have them all, and become the absolute ruler of the world. To you, they're nothing but toys," he says with a crazed look and smile to his face. Give them to me. Now! Never!" shouts Link. "I'll never surrender the Triforce." Now wielding his sword and shield in each hand, he shouts, "I swear I'll stop you, with the Master Sword in my hands, and every bit of courage in my heart." Ganondorf suddenly just has a more angry look to him, as bit as he as something from the back of his hand glows and causes a wind to form, apparently. "Link, I can't get any closer," Navi says. "He's keeping me away with waves of darkness." Ganondorf holding his hand up still. "Ah! Ha! Ah!" And he makes all kinds of different lighting effects with his dark powers, causing lightning bolts to form, and trying to zap Link with them. But Link keeps jumping out of the way, and then shouts in defiance, shouts in attacking position. As the two of them have a very massive brawl here. And Zelda looking on and worrying about Link. "You've improved," Ganondorf says. "My one mistake was letting you escape 7 years ago. I never thought a brat like you could ever stand in my way. But that too," he says, holding his sword up high, "will end today." Then the two resume their battle, trying to outdo the other. But as they do their sword fighting, Link tells them, "This isn't going to be like it did 7 years ago." Ganondorf, looking like he still had a smile on his face though, and after that was said. But then Link, using his sword, touching Link's sword, unleashes dark magic through to him in that front, and suddenly Link feels excruciating pain, screaming out with what he's feeling. You coward!" he shouts after the attack does its damage. Who's the coward?" he asks, taunting him. Ganondorf asks, taunting Link, "You hold a sword that can banish evil. Dispel my evil magic. If you can." As he continues to use his dark magic on Link, Zelda cries out his name in worry, and Link, still reeling from the effects of all the attacks he is dealing with, slowly tries to get up, only to be met with, well, what looks to be like a dark matter energy ball. "Link, be careful!" Navi shouts. Link looks on as Ganondorf shouts, "It's all or nothing! The finishing blow!" he shouts, throwing that attack toward Link. Link then has his sword out and does the spin attack! And the two of them constantly switch the dark energy back and forth. Ganondorf getting irritated. "Foolish boy!" he shouts. "You can't possibly And off the distraction, Link, with that look in his face, going through the energy, with Ganondorf's with Ganondorf's eyes widening in surprise. Link then just swooshes his sword. And that's the end of chapter 8. Bonus illustration 5. Right here. Right here. A rough sketch Himetama Sensei drew before working on this series. That's a pretty cool picture if I do say so myself. And now we are at the final chapter. Chapter 9. A new journey begins. Are we all ready for the final chapter of Ocarina of Time? We've finally gotten to this point, and I'm looking forward to finishing it off. But first, let's take a little drink, shall we? The next shot we see, Ganondorf spits out blood from the after effects of the spin attack. And Link still stands there a bit crookedly, if I do say so myself, based on how it looks. Look at that, that's a little bit crooked to be standing like that. Ganondorf then falls to one knee, and as blood pours from his lower lip, I can't. Dark Lord Ganondorf cannot be beaten by this boy! And angry, and Ganondorf is now officially pissed off. Literally angry. As Ganondorf weakly limps towards Link, saying, Link, God! Suddenly shouting, his hands rising up toward the heavens. But then his hands slowly fall down as his body falls limp on the floor. Then Link looks still looking down at the seemingly dead body. And I say seemingly because you know how final villains are. You don't know if they're coming back, when they're coming back or not. They just happen. But anyway, Link still stares down at Ganondorf's body, as suddenly the magic of the jewel that surrounded Princess Zelda dissipates, as she goes to the floor, Zelda looks at Link and shouts his name, as the two of them literally gets closer together, and I mean that literally. Navi goes to Link as well, telling him, Link, I tried to help, but I couldn't. Link looks at Navi and says, that's alright, Navi. But then the two of them look down at Ganondorf's body. Ganondorf, Zelda says, looking down upon him. Suddenly they hear crumbling going on around him. The two look around and as Link shouts, Ganondorf's castle is collapsing! And the two of them try to run out of the castle before it destroys itself. with the last with the one shot being that of Ganondorf's hand, and then a bit and something landing on the arm that crushes everything but the hand. And then we see the whole castle in this picture crumbling down. Put those there. Oh, come on, don't start with that shit. I'll have you know, they may not be fully. I'll have you know, while I will agree they should be clipped, at the same time, I can't really clip my left hand fingernails because my right hand is a little bit different. Look, see? My right hand is a little bit different, so it's kind of trickier clipping them with my right hand than they are with clipping them with my left hand. Even then, I tend to keep my thumb. Link is gay. Okay, so let me get this straight. A guy that has, in this story, has a crush on Zelda somehow is gay. Unless you're referring to the other use of gay, which is him being happy. In which case, okay, I stand corrected. But otherwise, no, he's technically not. Be quiet. But as I was saying, typically I like to keep my thumbnail clipped, or my thumbnail a bit longer than my other nails. Because you never know what could happen. You never know what your thumbnail could be useful for. I'm just saying. But anyway, after a while, the dust finally settles as the remains of the castle are then shown. This is just awful, Zelda says. His greed made Ganondorf's heart too weak to wield the power of the gods. Now it's finally over, Zelda continues. Once and for all. Link looks directly at Zelda and asks, is the fight really done? Yes, Zelda answers. No more fighting. But then Zelda looks. Something catches her eye. And Link, noticing this look on her face, decides to walk through the castle remains to see if anything's out of the ordinary. Suddenly, something pops out of the rubble and crashes back down onto the ground. Ganondorf? He's alive? Zelda and Link say respectively in a shocking manner. Ganondorf then holds up the hand with the Triforce of Power and starts screaming. Yeah! Suddenly, he transforms into a wild man beast. Has the Triforce of Power gone out of control? Link shouts. It's filled with Ganondorf's hatred for you, Link, shouts Navi. And now the final battle truly commences as Link and Ganondorf fight once again. As Link and Ganondorf, this time under the form of Ganon, fight once again. Whoa, he's huge, Link says at one point. But then another, if that's the way he wants to play, alright! Then he stares down, then he looks right up directly at Ganon, with Ganon looking at him and says, Link. And Link stares at him. And something seems to have hit him, for he screams in pain. Ah! Zelda's worries for his well-being as the Master Sword suddenly goes into the air and finally lands on the ground, right behind, right behind, right behind Zelda. As Link stands, and meanwhile Link is dealing with some battle damage as Navi tries to get Link to wake up, shouting, "Link, snap out of it!" Ganon now stomping toward Link with Sam Link in his head. And as he's about to go for the killing blow, "No more running! It's time for Navi to fight!" Navi the fairy says. And as she's about to start, all of a sudden she feels a whooshing motion going up, with Navi saying, "Yikes!" And as she trembles, Zelda still manages to hold on to the Sword of Time, or the Master Sword. It's still, would the Master Sword technically still be the Thing of Time, like the Sword of Time, when you think about it? Because it is in the pedestal of time, hidden behind the door of time, which requires the Song of Time to open the door of time, so you can go to the pedestal of time and get the Master Sword, which might as well have just been called the Sword of Time. But then again, that would be a bit too lazy. Able to hold the Master Sword, Zelda throws it toward Link, shouting, "Link, the Master Sword!" And as she throws it towards Link, Ganon takes notice of Zelda as she stares at Ganon directly in defiance. Link then goes for the Master Sword, shouts, and whispers to himself, "Ganondorf, you're still making the same mistake. You don't count me out." As he flishes, I don't know what the heck that's supposed to be, whether he's doing it or something. But then he did something with his sword, shouting, "Till the fight is done!" He happens to have slashed what looks to be part of Ganondorf's horn. And Ganondorf, feeling, excuse me, well, actually it's not his horn. What am I talking about? The next thing we see the shot of him able to cut part of Ganon's tail open. With Link wondering what just happened, Navi shouts, "His tail! His tail is his weak point!" So now, at that moment, Ganondorf swings. Ganondorf swings his sword as Link is being approached. He gets ready for the attack, but suddenly he gets hit with a blast, causing him to fall down again. But Ganondorf, something's going on in that picture there, but I can't quite describe it. But as that happens, followed by this small window this small picture right there. Link stares down at Ganon as Ganondorf looks directly at him, and he looks back directly at Ganon still. Suddenly Link just jumps up into the sky. Link starts coming down, screaming as he's about to lay the final blow on Ganondorf, slicing him clean in half, vertically. And Ganondorf stops dead in his tracks, lurks, and then his body falls to the ground. Well, he doesn't really cut him clean in half. What am I talking about? Well, actually, yes, he does, because if you notice, it shows that he's cut clean in half right here, based on his horn. I guess? I don't know. But either way, his final actions basically involve snorting and squealing, I should say. And Link, worn out from his battle, starts to get his energy back at him, still feeling the effects of the battle. Suddenly, a blinding ray of light. Suddenly, something envelops the sword, and Link holds it up, kind of almost similar to like how you would hold the Skyward Sword in the Skyward Sword video game. Zelda then reveals, Link, the Master Sword is telling you that you're at maximum power. It says, finish off the Dark Lord now. And Link makes this face, staring directly at something. Most likely Ganon. And Link proceeds to walk toward him as Ganon looks directly at him, angry. Then you see somebody with a bit of a sad look to their face right here where my finger is at. Right there. And then with an up close shot of Link's nose and mouth and the tip of the Master Sword at the ready, Link lunges it and proceeds to stab Ganondorf right to the forehead. And as he has that sword in Ganondorf, Zelda holds up her hands and says in her mind, 6 sages, now is the time. Open the eternal gates. You ancient gods who created Hyrule, open the eternal gates. Banish this creature of evil darkness incarnate to the distant netherworld. Zelda says, as we see a shot of Darunia, Ruto, Naburu, and Impa. And let's not forget about Saria. And as some things fall from the sky, they seem to They seem to have made contact with Ganondorf. As Ganondorf in this space says to himself, "I'll get you all for this, Zelda and the Six Sages. But most of all, Link." After the battle is over, sunlight starts peering through the clouds until it was almost like your average ordinary sunny day. "Now it's really over," Navi says. Outside near Death Mountain. "Hey Damien, how you doing today? You working hard, my guy?" "Well, thank you. I always try to do some reading for anybody that wants to read or watch along, or like read along with me, or watch um, my reading to them. At least listen to it. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's the whole gist of it. Yeah, I just like doing this so much, really. But anyway, as they stand a distance away from Death Mountain, Zelda says, "Thank you, Link. Ganondorf is sealed in a place of eternal darkness. Now Hyrule can be rebuilt," Link says, "and I can help." But Zelda looks away, saddened. "When Hyrule enters a new time of peace, that is when we must part," she says. And Link looks at her, shocked. Zelda continues. "Before Ganondorf stole the Triforce, I had tried to rule the Sacred Realm. It was very foolish of me. As a result, he got the Triforce, and you were drawn into the conflict." Alright. "Now, as the seventh sage, it is my duty to put the Master Sword to sleep and close the door of time. When I do, the pathways of time will become impassable." She holds her hand up to her chest. "Give me the Ocarina, Link," she says, holding out her hand. "With the Ocarina of Time, I can send you back." "Send me back?" Link asks. "Hold on a second," he shouts. I didn't fight because I was drawn into the conflict. I fought for you." He stares down. He looks down, and Zelda looks still at him. She begins. "With my father gone, I must rule over Hyrule. It is a great responsibility and honor. Heroes aren't needed during peacetime. You should be back in the forest, where you'll be happy." Link looks at her, clenching his fist, and holds it up, just like so. Then he gets down on one knee and says, "I am the hero of time. No matter where or when I am, I will fight for Hyrule and Princess Zelda." And then Link bows his head toward her. And Zelda looks down to him. And Navi floated in the air, speechless. Just speechless. Link then hands her the Ocarina of Time, and Zelda then begins plays the song. I forget if it's supposed to be. I believe it's supposed to be the Song of Time that brings him back to 7 years ago, and this is kind of hinted at with Majora's Mask, where in the game, whenever you play the Song of Time, um, you will be sent right back to the day one of the 3 days, whenever that happens. Uh, then you also have like the inverted Song of Time in the game that slows time down in Majora's Mask. Then you have like the inverted Song of Time or something like that. No, wait, that's what I was thinking of. But I was thinking of a different one where it's kind of either slows down time or brings it back to normal speed. Whatever. Either way, Zelda starts playing the ocarina. And as she does, she slowly gets smaller and smaller for Link. As she says, "Thank you, Link. Excuse me. Thank you, and goodbye." Now, I'm not sure who is saying these lines. I don't know if it's Zelda saying it or if it's Navi saying it. I honestly don't know. But either way, somebody said, and it seems like, I don't know if it's Zelda still saying it, because you had that. But I also wonder if it's Navi saying it, because the speech bubbles are more with her, are more near her than Zelda. So that's why I'm thinking it's Navi that says it. But anyway, the lines are, "Link, you're a magnificent hero. The forest will be safe with you there. Link, I love you." With sunlight passing through the windows of this room, we next see the young Link. We next see the shot of young Link standing next to the pedestal of time. Huh? And Link looks down, surprised to see. He's surprised to see the Master Sword be taller than him. So he looks down and realizes, yep, he's young again. And then he looks back up at the Master Sword. And then he smiles. And Link still takes one last look at the Master Sword as it rests on the very pedestal that Link pulled it out of. "Hey! Hey!" someone shouts in it somewhere else. "Hey, Mito!" Kokiri shouts. "The great Deku Tree had a baby! Come on!" Mito feels a little bored. Mito looks a little bored. But it is true. The great Deku Tree has a baby. Basically the successor to him. And then we see Hyrule Castle Town with the bells ringing. And then we see a shot of Hyrule Castle and a shot of a butterfly passing by. So we said something here. Slay Queen, what he says, I don't know what that means, but okay. As Zelda looks through the window, Link approaches her, making a noise in the grass. As Zelda turns around and sees Link standing right in front of her, as she smiles and cries tears of happiness. And with that, Ocarina of Time has ended. Ocarina of Time, adult arc and story have ended. Now, they do have the bonus stories, and I'll probably do them on my own time. I'll probably do them on a separate video in between reading books, but that's if you guys want me to read them. If you do, I'll read them. If not, we'll just move on without them, alright? But before we go, I believe it does have an afterword that I do want to read. Afterward. This was like playing a video game for the first time. It's not like we'd never played video games, but neither of us was very good at them. Even though we both played once in a while, we never found any drive to play more often. Then one day, in 1998, a TV commercial changed our lives. It was for The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, and it showed a young boy brandishing a sword from atop a horse that was rearing up against a background of flames. At that moment, my intuition, so poor at video games, spoke to me, and at the same time, so did my partners. Somehow we knew the character in that brief television commercial had something to do with us. Before we could bid out to buy a Nintendo 64 for our studio, we received a call from Chief Editor Nakahara, deputy editor at the time, of Shogaku Roku Nensei magazine. He wondered if we would like to work on a serialized manga for Ocarina of Time. What incredibly good timing! We just looked at each other and broke out laughing. Accepting that it was fate, we started work. At first we thought the manga might be the best served by simply breaking the video game story into panels and turning those into exciting scenes, but that didn't go well at all. We began to realize that this job was more complicated than just retelling the same story. First we had to play the game, the whole game, before we could even start. That was pretty hard for us, but when we finally finished the game, we looked at each other and said, "Video games are awesome." For the first time, we understood completely how video games could be just as fun and just as interesting as manga. Both of them tell a story, but video games tell that story in a completely different way than manga do. Plus, you get completely caught up in the game. That was important. Precisely because we were so deeply involved, we were able to relax, stop thinking like manga authors, and just enjoy the story more than anything else. The world of the game was so beautiful. It radiated life and warmth, a kind of heat and human emotion that we'd never found in a cold digital world before. We thought about the fact that so many people worked for literally years to make the game, but here we were working on the manga, just the two of us. Suddenly, it seemed too big a job. We got a little freaked out. But discovering the true character of Link made us feel better, like a cool breeze on a summer day. Link isn't strikingly good looking. He's just mildly handsome, and for some reason that seemed appealing, and it's been a long time since such a nice hero appeared in the manga world. It seems like there should be more of them, but there aren't. At first we thought it would be easy to craft such a hero, so we had no excuse for failure, but it turned out to be quite difficult. In the past, all the heroes we created were the anti-heroes, which reflected our view of the world. If we made heroes too nice or too good, we thought they'd seem false and unbelievable. But the more we spent in the world of Zelda, the more we realized that it had its own kind of reality. I was used to writing mysterious, conflicted characters like Sheet, but for the first time I understood in the bottom of my heart that good guys could be cool too. Link was cool. And my partner always thought that attractive visuals could only come from tough, edgy settings, but Ocarina of Time has a different kind of attraction. The images from the video game breathe with life, incredibly soft, pure, noble, and well thought out. The polygons somehow reminded us of the stop-motion anime we used to love, but which never felt particularly real, and particularly portrayed a sense of space, gestures, and timing. In general, we prefer games that are not too intensely cheesy or melodramatic. When we've had our first meetings with Shigeru Miyamoto and the others doing the hard work on the Zelda games, we were excited, nervous, happy, and scared all at the same time. It was an incredible honor that they would entrust one of their important worlds to our hands. We also have to send unending thanks to our chief editor, who introduced us to this world and let us bring our own artistic vision to the project, and to everyone else at Shogaku Rokudense magazine. Thank you very much. In elementary school, we both read a lot of manga magazines, and we agreed that back then it felt like 1 year was a much longer span of time than it seems now. That's why we refused to cut any corners, treated this work with love, and put all our care and effort into bringing it to life. We hope that you readers who are even now on the cusp of adolescence, when the doors of sensibility are wide open, will feel the reality of The Legend of Zelda, and, if even just a little, find some of Link's purity in yourselves. Akira Himekawa. A message from the author for the Legendary Edition. 10 volumes of the Legend of Zelda manga series, which started in 1999, will now be collected into 5 deluxe volumes. It's so incredible to see them be reincarnated like this. It's as if all of Link's incarnations are returning to Hyrule again, just like the hero of time and Ocarina of Time. It's just as exciting to see them again now as it was back then, and they haven't lost one bit of their luster. Those of you who were in elementary school at the time are now all grown up as well. Now it's time to relive those memories and head out on an adventure once again. And now they actually have credits here. I'm just going to go ahead and read it. The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time Legendary Edition. Translation: John Weary, Konyaku Center Incorporated. English adaptation: Stephen Stan Brown. Lettering: John Hunt. Original series design: Izumi Hirayama. Original series editor: Mike Motessa. Legendary edition design: Sean Tarito. Legendary edition editor: Joel Enos. The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time Viz Media Edition. Story and art by Akira Himekawa. Still Legend of Zelda Legendary Edition Ocarina of Time. Trademarked with copyright 2020 Nintendo, all rights reserved. Zelda no Densetsu Toki no Ocarina Kanzen Ban by Akira Himekawa. Copyright 2016 Akira Himekawa, all rights reserved. Original Japanese edition published by Shogakukan. English translation rights in the United States of America, Canada, the United Kingdom, Ireland, Australia, and New Zealand. Arranged with Shogakukan. Original design Kazutada Yokoyama. No portion of this book may be reproduced or transmitted of any form or by any means without written permission from the copyright holders. Printed in the USA, published by Viz Media LLC, P.O. Box 77010, San Francisco, California 94107. Yeah. But anyway, that is it. We have finally finished The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. I love this book. If you're a Zelda fan, especially if you love Ocarina of Time, you will love this book wholeheartedly. Pick it up when you can. And if you're not able to, well, better luck next time, but I would highly recommend this book. And I'm looking forward to reading the other Zelda books that I got over here. But now with that said, it is time for our next book. Like I said earlier, I did do a poll on which book you guys wanted me to read next. And the vast majority of you, all, well, with the exception of a few people, you all have said you want me to read Because of Winn-Dixie. And because this book has a movie based on it, I will be watching the movie after I read the book as well. But I would probably most likely do it on its own, as its own stream to make it, kind of fair. We pay attention to the book first and then the movie. That's how I usually like to play this type of thing. But yeah, so this will be the next book. Meanwhile, this book, I would say, is going to get a PG. Yeah, about a PG rating. It's not too violent, with the exception of some blood being shown during the the fight with Ganondorf, as well as Volvania getting the head cut clean off to save it from its the brainwashing that Ganondorf put on it, the spell or whatever. But yeah, this book I would probably give a PG rating. I'll come up with why tomorrow. But yeah, so yeah, done with this. Later this week, because it should have been done last week, I'll be reading Because of Winn-Dixie. So yes. But with that all being said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed my reading of this Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. And hope you guys enjoyed. Have a good rest of your day / night. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, this is Forrest Walpole signing off.